everyone. I normally start my mixed media paintings with either just straight painting or collage. Today I wanted to focus on mark making specifically and move on from there. So I've been taking a free workshop from Judy Woods and Nicola Bennett, and they focus a lot on mark making. So it's been fascinating to watch their process, and I thought I would give it a try too. I'm using here graphite pencils, Pitt pens, regular mechanical pencil, just some darker drawing pencils, and a black China marker to make these marks. And that is a giant, kind of a rectangle tip acrylic marker pen. Now I'm starting with some Neocolor crayons. These are Neocolor 2 crayons, which means that they're water soluble. So I'll show you what that means in a minute. I'm trying to let these marks inform the shapes that I'm bringing out. So some of the shapes will get, or some of the marks will get painted over or drawn over, and some of them will remain. The white that I'm adding is actually gesso. That's what Nicola and Judy use in their workshop, so I thought I'd give it a try. I rarely work with gesso, but it is nice because it is fairly opaque. It's very chalky, which I typically don't like that texture. But it was nice to try something new. And you can see how when mixed with the water-soluble crayons, it tints the gesso. So the gesso is just a lightened version of that color. Now I'm adding full-strength quinacridone gold, which is also having an impact on the Neocolor crayons. Or the Neocolor crayons are having an impact on the color of the quinacridone gold, either way. I suppose both. And adding a little water here and there just to lighten and vary the opacity of the paint. Blotting with paper helps just to dry it a little faster and lift off some of the paint. Here I'm adding some, I believe this is just Pyrrole Red, which is my red of choice. Again, just to work around some of the shapes and cover over others. Trying to build up layers, you want to dry things in between. If you want the colors to blend together, then you wouldn't want to dry in between, but if you want to cover over something, you need to make sure it dries. This was a part of the painting that I felt very out of my depth. I'm not sure what was throwing me off, but it's fun to put myself in situations where I do get to learn, right? If you don't let yourself be uncomfortable, you'll never learn anything new. So I'm going, I'm pushing through. At this point, it really becomes like any other mixed media project that I do, right? Balancing the quiet and the loud, balancing the opaque and the transparent colors. I'm not even sure balance is the right word. Just deciding what proportions I'd like of each of them and alternating back and forth. Because this is specifically for me a mark making exercise, I did know that I wanted there to be some distinctive marks left in or added on top by the end. And here I'm making decisions on what aspects of the painting I want to stand out and which ones to push into the background a little bit more, or a lot more actually with the gesso. I have a tendency to really get in my head when I'm painting and creating, thinking too much about, well, if I do this, then what will I do next? And if I do this color, then should I not do this color? And that's fine when you're in an editing stage. But when I was still trying to just create without thinking too much, those thoughts become intrusive and unwelcome. So I've been really trying to intentionally shut those thoughts down, which is easier said than done for me, and just focus on doing the thing that feels right one step at a time. So after I did a little bit of gesso to make a shape out of the background, then decide what to do next, rather than trying to get 6 steps ahead in my mind. That's the best way I've found to do it. I also usually have music on when I'm creating so I can focus on that, but nothing too disruptive, just fun, easy music. I'd love to know how you guys stay out of your head, or if you're struggling with it like I am. And it's just a constant thing that I continue working on. I'm trying to think, is it in Big Magic by Liz Gilbert, where she just says, your critical editor, you just say, thank you for that. Thank you for that thought, but I don't need you right now. I'm going to take it from here. Kind of, you can get in the back seat. I'll continue driving. I don't need your navigation. But thanks for getting me this far. Here I'm putting a glaze on top of some of this white just to warm it up a bit. And you can use a wet paper towel, you can use a wet cloth or a baby wipe to do that. So now I'm switching to some fluid acrylics. Trying to have these shapes come out somewhat organically and then add to them a bit. The fun here, of course, is that I have 2 pages in a workbook, so no matter which one I move, they both kind of move. So my shapes are still influenced by the other, or by the movement of the other. I'm just using a small wooden stick there to pull some of the paint out, make different shapes. It took a long time for that to dry, so I did cut out my hair drying. So now I'm pulling out a few pieces of collage to add on to it. Because these black lines are so definitive, I certainly don't need a lot to add to this. Just a few small additions. Because it's certainly busy enough. The thing I learned most about this exercise is that I really loved having the organic marks form with that fluid black paint. Because some of my marks that I make inevitably in a painting feel too contrived and then I don't like them and I can't stop focusing on them. So in this case, things feel, they probably aren't the marks they definitely aren't the marks I would have made intentionally, but I love the organic strangeness of them. And because the paint moved around just by me moving the sketchbook, they're completely unique, completely one of a kind, and it adds a lot of interest to the art. It made it very interesting for me to continue working on it. And whether you like the marks or don't like the marks, and even whether I like the marks or don't like the marks, they definitely add something. So if you decide to try this, very interesting. I would recommend just making a bunch of pencil marks, pen marks. That requires a closer look. Some paint marker marks on a page or two. You could also do it on a very large page and then cut it down later or keep it big. The possibilities really are endless. And then experiment with covering it up with white paint or gesso in various different colors of transparent and opaque paints and see what you come up with. It was really fun. I tend to like exercises that remind me to let go and just let things happen, because maybe it's as a mother, I feel like so many things are out of my control that I can get really tight in my art making, trying to control everything, which it doesn't end well from a visual perspective. It doesn't end well feeling great to me. So anything that can help me loosen up, I tend to love. And this one definitely helps me loosen up because it's much more electricity, energy on the page than I'm used to. And that was a really fun change. Adding in some transparent black just to shade things a bit here and there. I'll tell you now, I don't know that these are finished, but I really like the progress that I made. And whether they're still in progress or not, I'm very happy with where they are right now. So how do you normally start your art? Do you normally start it with mark making? Do you normally start it with painting? Do you normally start with collage, something different, inks, markers? Tell me in the comments. I would love to know. I'm always looking for new ways to start things. And it's so much fun to see how your first layer, or how my first layer impacts my next layers. This one started out mark heavy and it ended mark heavy, and that was my intention. So I've definitely succeeded in that sense. But I would love to know what you tend to do in your painting. Have a great day, everybody.